Looking for a great place for breakfast or lunch? Try the Harbor Cove Cafe, the hidden treasure at the end of Spinnaker Drive. Located in the beautiful Ventura Harbor, this remarkable gem is locally owned and operated, serving a wide selection of breakfast and lunch favorites. With jaw-dropping views of the beautiful Ventura Harbor, Ventura's famous two trees, and the Topa Topa Mountains, what more could you ask for? Well, how about a full espresso bar and delightful tropical libations mixed up by our own Dr. Shocker? And with their pet-friendly patio, even man's best friend can enjoy the sights and sounds of this unique destination. Pair all of this with the delicious food offered here, and you've got a match made in heaven. Visit Harbor Cove Cafe online at harborcovecafe.net or give them a call at 805-658-1639. Harbor Cove Cafe, located at 1867 Spinnaker Drive in the Ventura Harbor. We'll see you there.
Now, it's time for Backseat Mogul with R. Scott Bolton. He talks about showbiz because showbiz won't talk about him.
Showbiz is a cruel and shallow money trench, a long plastic hallway where thieves and pimps run free and good men die like dogs for no good reason. There's also a bad side.
This is the Backseat Mogul Show. Wait, you guys got to see my pretty face. That's better. Live here on Rough Edge FM. I am R. Scott Bolton. I am the Backseat Mogul, and this is the show where we talk about show business. Well, he's on my right, but if I point at him, it looks like he's on my left. But to my right is Johnny D. Johnny, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Scotty. How are you today?
I'm doing well, my friend. We're going to start off today. Well, we're going to get to the 16 scariest movies of all time. And I picked 16 for a reason. It's from a list of about, 30, I believe. But I chose the top 16 because we don't have time to go through all 30. But we'll get to that. But first, I wanted to talk about the Martin Scorsese movie, Killers of the Flower Moon. Now, Johnny was the only person brave enough, daring enough, stupid enough to go to the theater with me to see it because my wife would not go. I didn't know anybody else that would go because it's 3 hours and 26 minutes long. That is a long movie.
Yeah.
And sadly,
with no intermission.
No intermission. No, intermissions are a thing of the past. I mean, Tarantino did it, but boy, did he do it right. It was awesome for The Hateful Eight. But, and that's not even counting the trailers and stuff. Because, I mean, thankfully they were smart. They got the trailer started early. Yeah. So, because when we got there, the trailers were already going, which is how it should be. But with a movie that long. And the sad thing is that's the first thing everybody mentions about this movie is how long it is. And it is a challenge. There's no question. I mean, I was never bored or anything like that, but sitting in one spot for 3.5 hours is a long time to sit there and do anything.
Fortunately, that stadium seating, those are very comfortable seats.
Yeah. This was actually playing at the little corner theater that we have, which I would really like to patronize, but I thought I can't do 3.5 hours in their little chairs. I just couldn't. And I even thought about the luxury chairs over at the Ventura Theater, Cinemark, because they have the backs that lean back, they have deep cushions, just like an easy chair that you're sitting in. But then I thought, then you're going to get too comfortable. You're going to be. So we went to the Oxnard XD Theater. I love that theater. It's my favorite theater in town. The image and sound quality is just perfect. And we sat through Killers of the Flower Moon. Now, as I said, everybody talks about how long it is, and I've done nothing but that for the beginning here. But that movie is much, much more. Don't you agree?
Oh, yeah.
It is. It's Martin Scorsese, so going in, it's going to be good. I mean, how many bad movies has that man made? Probably one or two, maybe. And
in my lifetime,
somebody else's
have no idea.
And somebody else's would probably love them. So it's hard to say. But he's a master filmmaker, and it's funny because I read an interview with him lately, and they were asking him about Tarantino and about Tarantino saying, "After my 10th film, I'm done," because Tarantino's feeling is that many filmmakers make too many movies. And then they start making bad movies, and he doesn't want to make any bad movies. Well, they asked Martin Scorsese that, and he said, I'm still going to make movies. He goes, I'm 80 years old, and I think I just figured out how to make a good movie. I don't want to stop now. I want to keep going. So good for him. Killers of the Flower Moon is about a native Indian nation.
The Osage.
The Osage. And oil is discovered on their land. So much oil that they become, and this is what it said in the movie at least. I'm sorry, my throat's really weird today. Remember, we're talking from the movie's point of view. They became the richest people per capita on the planet. That's how much money they were generating from this oil. And what happens when you have that much money? The snakes start coming out.
Mm-hmm.
The snakes start coming out. And this story is about a con man who has conned this nation out of their riches. And it is a horrifying and brutal story, true story, that took place back in the 1920s, and in which I believe 30 or 40 people were killed.
There was a lot of them between 1919 and 1923.
It's just brutal. It's a horrible chapter in this nation's history. And Scorsese's been wanting to tell the story for a long time, and his passion, I believe, shows through in this motion picture. He tells you the story. He sets up the bad guys. He sets up the victims, and he tells the story in a way that just boils your blood as you're watching this movie. And the tragedy and the horror of what happened to this nation is truly horrifying. But it's a story that needs to be told, and it's a story that maybe not many people know, but now they know the story. And I would like to know what the aftermath of that was. You know, I'm not talking making a sequel. I really don't think we're going to see Killers of the Flower Moon 2, but I'm talking about reading somewhere to find out what happened after the events in this movie took place. I mean, they told us about some of them,
right,
in a very unique way. I'm trying not to give stuff away here, but at the end of the movie, there's a true crime radio show. And that was Scorsese's way of saying, not only do these tragedies happen, but people sensationalize them and profit off of them afterwards as well. And he tells you a little bit about what happens to the character you see on the screen there. But I want to know what happened afterwards. What happened to those land rights? What happened? Did the oil dry up? What's happened afterwards? I'm very curious.
I can tell you from this takes place in Oklahoma, and actually it takes place in Osage and Washington counties. And as a kid, that's where I grew up, was in Washington County.
So you were part of the problem.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Anyway, it takes place in Fairfax, Oklahoma, which is on an Indian reservation, but they actually shot it in a town called Pawhuska, where they trucked in all kinds of dirt to take care of the streets and all that.
It's a $200 million movie. They
yeah.
probably did a lot of stuff that other productions couldn't afford.
And they brought in all these old cars. They had a couple of museums.
You can't wait to get to that one point, can you? I can just see
eventually.
You're just plotting right into it.
Yeah. But it's an atrocity as to what these Native Americans, these Osage Indians,
the Osage Nation,
went through. Now they're still pumping oil in Oklahoma.
Yeah, but who do the rights belong to? So the oil didn't dry up. We know that much.
Oh, no.
But who do the rights belong to? That's what I'd be very curious to find out.
The Indians are still getting a lot of money out of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. It's a brilliant film, and
brutal, but brilliant.
It's a Scorsese picture. You go in thinking it's and a lot of people are saying it's like his typical gangster movie. I would disagree. It's the gangsters are there, don't get me wrong, but they're not the typical gangsters. They're the cast is just incredible. Leonardo DiCaprio is the lead role. He plays a man who just got back from the war, right?
Yep.
And
World War I.
And he meets up with his uncle, who is the leader of the con men. He's the main con man in this. And what's interesting about his character is, at least in the film, again, you got to remember, is that he does these horrible, vicious things, but at times he kind of redeems himself.
Mm-hmm.
And at times it seems like he doesn't want to do these things, but he does them anyway, because how many times did he say this in the film? I love money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, from trying to scam the Indians out of their riches, their oil, their money, to doing insurance, theft. He tried to burn
crime.
He burned a lot of his property so he could claim insurance on it,
because he wasn't getting that money anymore. It had been cut off from him. Robert De Niro plays the main con man, as I said earlier. De Niro is 80 years old, and the man is sharp as a tack still. Mm-hmm. That role was intense, and you could feel the evil just boiling in him. I mean, the De Niro is just simply amazing. Jesse Plemons is in this as well. He's terrific. Plays there's no short for it then, right? It's just Bureau of Investigation. It wasn't the FBI. It was just Bureau of Investigation.
It was the beginnings of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, but they didn't call themselves the FBI.
No, because it wasn't. Yeah, it was the Bureau at that point.
Yeah, I think it was just called BOI.
Boy, hey boy, I'm not boy agent.
Pretty much, but Bureau of Investigation.
I don't think they called it that.
I read that.
They called it the BOI.
Yeah,
hey boy,
I actually read that.
I'm gonna remember that. I'm a boy agent. That sounds weird. John Lithgow and Brendan Fraser are also in it, and they play lawyers, and both of them are terrific. It's good to see Brendan Fraser finally escaping the mummy curse and winning his Oscar for that movie.
Whale?
The Whale. God, he was so good in that.
I haven't seen that, but I do want to see that.
And anything John Lithgow is in. John Lithgow he's just a magician.
Oh yeah,
he's just a magician.
And it was not I mean, when you think of John Lithgow, normally you think of, for the most part, comedic.
No, you don't. I don't know where you get these things from.
Well, most of the stuff I've seen him in.
You see Third Rock, or whatever that show was that he was in.
Third Rock from the Sun.
Yeah, but he's done so much drama.
Oh, I know that.
As much drama. Let me just say this. I disagree with you wholeheartedly on that topic.
Well,
wholeheartedly, sir.
Let me finish.
I throw down the gauntlet.
The role he did on
the role he did in Perry Mason was very dramatic. It was no comedy.
Oh, I missed that one.
Yeah. See?
No, the one that
you have this weird thing of always wanting to separate comedy from drama, and they can't be separated, John.
The blood
comedy's
guy.
Actually harder.
The blood guy.
What? Are we back to you not knowing what you're talking about?
Because with a D.
Hold on. How
Dexter.
We've been in the show for 12, almost 13 minutes, and John has already forgotten several names.
No, the role he did on
not a funny
Dexter.
role.
No, not at all.
Okay, so why would you
normally when I think of?
Do you know what he said about that role in Third Rock?
What?
When he won, I think, his third Emmy for it. He goes, "I can't believe you guys keep giving me awards for doing something that's so easy." I have a John Lithgow story.
Oh,
we're at Santa Barbara because, as you can see, we're old. My friend Chris Gerlach and I went to see The Twilight Zone. No, we went to see a Star Wars movie. I think it might have been The Empire Strikes Back. And we were in line, which was like 400 blocks, the line was crazy. And we kept looking at this guy in front of us, and I suddenly realized that's John Lithgow. John Lithgow standing in line in front of us. And so we're like, oh, I don't want to approach him. It seems weird or something. But I knew that he was in the upcoming Twilight Zone movie. So Chris and I started talking. I said, oh, I can't wait for the Twilight Zone movie. And Lithgow turned around and looked at me, and I was like, we got to say hi. No conversation. I think he turned back, but I thought, well, that's John Lithgow. That was pretty cool. So anyway, back to the cast of Killers of the Flower Moon. Lily Gladstone plays Molly.
She was great.
And in every scene that Molly is in, despite the fact Leonardo DiCaprio is standing here, Robert De Niro is standing here, you're looking at her because she has so much intensity and so much life in that character that every time she was on screen, you felt her emotions over everybody else's emotions. And she did it with such small intricacy. It was mind-blowing. I would say, this is a star. This actor is going to be a star. And I think when Oscar time comes around, she's going to be up there on the nominations along with De Niro and DiCaprio. because I think this movie is going to have a lot of Oscar nominations, and deservedly so. Now, there's a lot of talk about its $200 million budget, because it did cost $200 million to produce. Apple Plus paid that $200 million, and they did it because they want the prestige of this Martin Scorsese picture tied to their Apple Plus television stream, so they can draw subscribers. So far, the movie's grossed about $50 million worldwide, and they're calling it a hit. Now, keep the rule of thumb is basically 2 or 3 times your budget to generate, to start making a profit on a movie. So 50 million times 3 is 150 million. They're still a long way away from breaking their 200 million. They need to, basically, they'd have to gross 600 million for that movie to break even. But that wasn't the point. The point was for Apple Plus to make this movie that would deliver subscribers to their network, that would increase their subscriber base with the prestige and with the quality of a Martin Scorsese Academy Award nominated movie. Now, it's not Academy Award nominated yet, but wait, it will be. So there's some logic behind that as well. As a matter of fact, I read one article where they said everything they make at the theater is gravy, because it wasn't supposed to be a theatrical release. And that's another. Now I'm going to go off a little bit here, because this is something that's. Do you have anything else to say about Killers of the Flower Moon?
Oh yeah, a couple of things.
Oh, I know you do. He can't wait. He can't wait to tell you this.
Well, the first thing I want to say is I really enjoyed how the beginning of it, where Martin Scorsese, big as life on the screen, tells you a little bit about the movie.
He did what Tom Cruise did in Top Gun, and which I think you'll start seeing some of these bigger names do. He did a little introduction. Thank you for joining us for Killers of the Flower Moon. It's an important story that I wanted to tell. It's the work of so and so many people, and thank you for sharing it with us. Very nice. I like those. I like those. Nice. That was all. Yeah, I agree with you. That was a good one. What else you got?
Well, I think we both look at each other.
We did.
Yeah. There's a scene. Should we say spoiler alert?
No, this isn't. Okay. Well, just don't tell why. Just describe the vehicle, and
okay.
We don't need to know the story of that part.
Ernest Burkhart, played by Leonardo DiCaprio,
has a car. Don't say anything else.
He has a car, and he calls it a particular type of car, brand name, and he calls it a Roadster. Says it's red, and says what make it is. And he makes a deal with a guy, and
well, he says it's a Buick.
Yeah, he called. Well, I was trying to.
He calls it a Buick. Yeah,
he calls it a Buick Roadster, and I guess it's a new Buick Roadster. And we know where the money came from. That is from because his wife, who is played by, what's her name, Lily
Gladstone.
Yeah, Lily Gladstone plays Molly. Obviously, she is the money maker because of her Indian heritage for the Osage. That's where her money is coming from. And because of DiCaprio is in league with his uncle trying to scam all these Indians.
Johnny, you're really going with. I wanted you to avoid the story. Just to explain the car.
Okay. Anyway.
Please.
So he makes a deal with the guy. The guy comes back in the dead of night, takes the car.
John, stop. Just talk about the car. You don't have to tell the story. That's what I was trying to avoid. Okay. Sorry. That's why we didn't say spoiler. There's a car in the movie. No. Forget it. Forget this. You don't need this. This is what you need. There's a car in the movie that they call a Buick Roadster.
Right.
And in one scene, you clearly see the Chevy bow tie.
The Chevrolet bow tie on
the car. And John and I looked at each other like, didn't they say that was a Buick Roadster? And afterwards, we went and got whiskey and talked about the movie. And we were trying to figure out how that got passed with all the other factual checks. How did that such an obvious error get passed? And I just couldn't believe that it was a mistake. I said, nah, it must be something else going on. Well, John called his uncle, and I did some research online, and it's a mistake. It's if you go to Internet Movie Database, it's a goof. And it just weird to me that goof got through. Now, like I told Johnny later, because this is a $200 million movie, that goof may not be there when the movie is released to Apple Plus, because these days you can go in and digitally erase stuff. So anyway, that's what the whole point was.
I know
you can't help yourself but start telling. I
got one more thing to say about this.
I doubt it. Go ahead.
My family on my mom's side, my Uncle Leon, at one time owned 2 of the cars that were in this movie. He restored them to assembly line perfection.
That's what he does, right? Does he still do that, or does he just play the background?
No, Uncle Leon, he still works on cars, but he has very bad macular degeneration.
Oh, that sucks.
He hasn't driven in years, but he still tinkers around in his workshop.
Excuse me again. I would like to point out one other thing that's going to need to be fixed, and that's the IMDb synopsis. This is what it says. When oil is discovered in 1920s Oklahoma under Osage Nation land, the Osage people are murdered one by one until the FBI steps in to unravel the mystery. That should be until the boy steps in to unravel the mystery. So just so that's clear. Anyway, great movie. Highly recommend it. If you can't spend 3.5 hours in a seat, I would suggest you don't go. I mean, there's times you could leave. I thought that my one flaw in the movie was the fields burning scene went on too long. I didn't think it was that necessary. And he kept going back to it. I understand why, but I think it went on too long. So if you're going to go to the restroom, go during the
one thing I didn't understand about the burning of the fields around the house.
Yeah.
Is you showed a couple of guys that because of the way it's kind of wavy because I guess from the heat.
Yeah.
They were dancing and I couldn't figure out why they were dancing. I don't think they were.
Well, it was just the workers out in the field.
We show one guy, he's trying to beat it down and all that, but then you had one or two other guys. It really, to me, it looked like they were.
And maybe dancing. They were. Maybe they were having a good time, out there in the fire.
Drunk.
Who knows? I didn't pick up on that. I just picked up on that I did think that scene went on a little too long.
And then there was in the very beginning, before the movie actually started, that one idiot. Oh my God. I cannot believe.
Here's the thing. You go to a movies with a guy and you think you're going to sit there for 3.5 hours, watch the movie, eat some popcorn, drink some Coke Zero in my case. And the guy next to you sits down in his chair, but before his butt even hits the cushion, his popcorn, large popcorn, butter flavoring, it's butter there actually.
No, mine wasn't buttered.
Oh, no butter. Flies everywhere.
I mean, his wasn't
John
buttered.
spilled his entire bucket of popcorn. And then the worst thing is people will come up and they go, oh, look, some idiot spilled the popcorn. And they look at me like, no, not me. I got my bucket. That's his bucket. I took a picture of that and sent it to my wife. And I said, we've been in the theater 30 seconds and John already spilled his popcorn. And she replied, you just can't take him anywhere. But he's the only one that would go with me. So,
yeah, but I got to tell you, I did get this was before the movie actually started. I did get a little chuckle out of Scotty when I said, don't touch me there.
Okay. See,
private joke.
It's John, it's something that my son did to my brother years ago in a movie theater
when he was a little kid.
And John doesn't realize that nobody else gets that. So he says that in the theater and everybody's looking at us like we're two perverts.
Yeah, but you got it.
But there's other people who don't. You need to know that jokes time and place. And that was not a jokes time and place.
Well, it was
already you could have said, remember when Josh did that? Ha ha ha. But instead, you got to make it a thing. All right. Killers of the Flower Moon. And see, this is why he's the last person I asked to go to that movie with me.
It was really
highly recommended.
Highly recommended.
But what made me start to thinking is that we're talking about Killers of the Flower Moon, its box office, and how it doesn't really matter because it was designed to draw subscribers to Apple Plus. So it's weird the way the box office and the streaming entity are linked together. Mm-hmm. What's strange about this weekend is there's this new movie called Five Nights at Freddy's. And I'm really interested in this movie because I believe I've seen a movie with the same storyline somewhere else. It's basically about a group of kids who get locked into a Chuck E. Cheese-like thing called Freddy's, and there's evil entities in there wanting to kill them. Now, I haven't seen it. I don't know if that's the real synopsis. I'm basing this on the trailer that I saw. But here's the thing. It opened in theaters on Thursday, because that's how they do it now, and Peacock for paid subscribers at the same time. So What do you think that would do to the film's box office? If you can sit at home and watch it on Peacock, are you still going to go to the theater?
A lot of people, well, with these big screens and all that people have nowadays, no, I know of people that they just soon stay at home because they can pause it, get up, go to the bathroom, go to their kitchen or whatever.
Five Nights at Freddy's is going to make $78 million this weekend. Best Halloween opening ever. Best Peacock day and day. Well, that's not qualified, but
is that a combination?
It is a monster hit. No, that's just $78 million at the box office. I'm going to read you the Saturday AM box office report from Deadline. Universal Blumhouse's Five Nights at Freddy's is meeting the expectations of all those crazy projections that were out there. Since yesterday midday, when we saw 68 million, the Emma Tammy directed feature take the video game, I didn't know it was a video game, which is also co-written by the game's creator, Scott Cawthon, is looking at a $78 million weekend. Some have this movie at near Oppenheimer's opening of 82.4. Not that the movie will leg out north of 300 million in the end, but it's fun to see how universal it is in its marketing. Literally repeated the type of moviegoer turnout again. Another title that's harnessed the spirit of fans. That is big news.
Yeah.
I mean, so here's what they've learned. You can release a movie on a streaming network that you have to pay to see. I don't remember what Peacock is, but probably $9.99 like all of them now. Or you can go to the theater and see it. And $78 million of tickets were sold for the theater. The biggest Halloween opening ever. That's amazing. So, there's some work that needs to be done here, but figuring out the balance of these movies in theaters and these movies on streaming.
Did you ever watch the TV show Supernatural?
I did not.
Okay, because when you're saying that, this movie seems very familiar. There was an episode of Supernatural that takes place in a pizza-like place similar to Chuck E. Cheese, and Supernatural. That tells you exactly what the show's about. And I thought maybe that's what you were referring to.
No, it's a movie, an actual movie that I found. I thought it was an interesting title. I think Bruce Campbell might have been in it, as a matter of fact.
Well, remember there was Killer Clowns?
Yeah. What does that have to do with pizza?
Well, okay.
No, this movie is about a Chuck E. Cheese, the one I'm thinking of. I just can't remember the title. A Chuck E. Cheese-like restaurant where the creatures come to life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's apparently what this one's about. I did not know it was based on a video game. Makes it very interesting to me. By the way, here's some interesting news. You were talking about the intermission.
Mm-hmm.
Killers of the Flower Moon intermission imposed by a handful of theaters. So some of the theaters were stopping the movie on their own and putting in an intermission in place. And the studio's not happy about it. So the studios in the agreement to the presentation agreement, they agreed not to do that. So some of the theaters are doing that. I mean, what a great way to sell more popcorn.
Oh, yeah. Now, I highly recommend you not drink and eat before you go to this theater.
Johnny and I had large popcorns, and I had a large Coke Zero. What did you do? The large drink too?
I had Coke Zero as well.
And I was very cautious with my Coke Zero because usually my Coke Zero is usually gone by 3/4 of the movie. And that's a shorter movie. I was very careful with this one because I did not want to have to leave the theater. And I got through almost all of my popcorn, which is not necessarily a good thing, but I love popcorn.
Oh, yeah.
So, you've got to be careful. If you want to sit through the whole thing, like I said, there are times you can get up and leave and you're not going to miss much. I would recommend the crops burning scene, but it's such a terrific movie. It really is. All right, we're going to move on and we're going to talk about the 16 scariest movies of all time. Now, this is based on Internet Movie Database. It's based on I don't know who put the list together, but I'm imagining it's either an Internet Movie Database employee or maybe just a user. I had found several other scariest movies of all time sites. And they had pretty interesting takes on it as well. But I like where this one starts. Yeah, I was going to do top 15, but I thought I would do top 16 because number 16 is, of course, Psycho from 1960, the Alfred Hitchcock classic, which we also talked about last week because we were talking about the goriest movies of all time and how that movie isn't gory at all. There is blood in it, but it was mostly imagination that drew you through that. Again,
that was one of the things that Hitchcock was he used the theater of the mind, and I can't remember who
He's so
coined
great.
that phrase.
I remember one movie, I think it was Man on a Train, maybe, where he shows you there's a bomb under a table, and then he moves away from the bomb, and he goes to the characters. And all you can think about is that damn bomb.
Mhm.
But that's what he wants you to do. He wants that back in your head the whole time. Good stuff from him. Number 15 on the scariest movies of all time is Them. No, not the 1950s movie about the giant ants, which when I was a kid was pretty scary. But this one's from 2006. Here is the synopsis. Lucas and Clementine live peacefully in their isolated country house, but one night they wake up to a strange noise. They're not alone, and a group of hooded assailants begin to terrorize them throughout the night, which brings me to this point. These aren't all horror movies. These are just the scariest movies of all time. And a movie doesn't have to be a horror movie to be scary. What would you say is one of the scariest movies you've ever seen?
There was a movie that, something about Scarecrow is with Dustin Hoffman. It takes place in the UK. And I can't remember what the title of it was. Something with Scarecrow in it. And it was about these village people that were
YMCA. No, not those village people.
No, not those village people. Were terrorizing this husband and wife. The husband being, an American, and the wife being from the UK. And why they were doing it, I don't remember. I just remember how scary it was. I mean, it was one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. As a kid, the scariest movie I remember seeing as a kid was Frankenstein 1970.
Oh, you thought that was scary?
Well, for its time. I mean, this movie came out in the 50s, and it's supposed to take place in 1970. Hence the title, Frankenstein 1970.
I remember I saw that. I watched that many late nights, 2 or 3 times when I was a kid. I would, my parents would put me to bed, and I had a little black and white TV, and I'd turn it on. And I actually remember the power switch. It was a little dial at the side of the TV, and you pulled it out to turn the TV on. Fun stuff. I watched that. I don't remember a thing about that movie to this day, but yeah, I have 2 movies that come to my mind when I think of scary movies. One of them is When a Stranger Calls, the original with Charles Durning. Have you checked the children?
Oh, I remember that one.
That's a scary movie. And another one that I always thought was scary, and Steve Snyder and I went to see this together, and he agreed, The Ghost in the Darkness. Now, The Ghost in the Darkness isn't a horror movie. It's about a tiger that's eating a village of people in YMCA. No, in Africa, I believe. And that was a scary movie, because that tiger was hiding, and you knew it was in those bushes, and it came out of these bushes. So there was, and the other thing I want to mention before we go on to our next film here is there's a difference between jump scares, which are cheap, but effective, and long-term scares where you're watching something and something's building, and you're scared just anticipating what's coming. So there's different types of scares, and I'm not against either one of them. I mean, like I said, jump scares are cheesy, but they work.
Yeah, there's another title that comes to mind, but I'm going to wait until we get to number 1 before I mention it, because it might be on this list.
All right, it might be. Jaws is a perfect example of a jump scare. Was that it? The jump scare in Jaws is especially. I last saw Jaws in 3D at that theater we went to see the Killers of the Flower Moon in, and that jumps. I knew it's coming. And it still got me. It's a great jump scene. It is. And
you're talking about the
Ben Gardner's boat.
Yeah.
The head floats down. Yeah.
That was whoa.
And if you're in a theater watching it, the stinger they use, the musical stinger, it just burns into your brain, man. Like I said, I've seen that movie over 200 times, and it still got me. It was in 3D, so it would get me a little more.
Mike Oldfield released an album called Tubular Bells.
Yes.
And every time because I had it on 8-track, and every time I listened to it, I always envisioned Jaws. For some reason, between Jaws and The Exorcist, that music was just, it was scary.
I love the story about John Williams and Steven Spielberg. When John Williams brought Steven Spielberg the music, he said, "Steven, I have the theme for the shark. I don't know if we're going to get away with it, but I have the theme for the shark." And Spielberg, okay, well, let's hear it. And he goes, da 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 da. And Spielberg goes, yeah, we may not get away with it. We're using it. Because and look at it. It's one of the most iconic things in all of motion picture history. Number 14 in the list of scariest films of all time is Martyrs. Martyrs is from 2008. A young woman's quest for revenge against the people who kidnapped and tormented her as a child leads her and her friend, who is also a victim of child abuse, on a terrifying journey into a living hell of depravity. Doesn't sound like a happy movie.
No, not at all.
Intense, disorienting, unsettling, upsetting, polarizing. Wow.
The thing is, looking at that cover from here, the one person on the right, I thought it was Paul Stanley.
Okay.
I mean, it's the way the hair is, the look on the face almost looks white. And one thing, it just doesn't have the star. Okay.
Moving up to the next one, number 13 on the list, Good Night, Mommy. This is a horror mystery thriller from 2014. Twin boys move to a new house with their mother after she has face-changing cosmetic surgery, but under the bandages is someone the boys don't recognize. That sounds pretty good. That's a nice little thriller there.
I don't remember. Actually, there's at least 3 movies now. I don't recognize.
I'm right there with you. Which is the whole point of doing this.
Mm-hmm.
The whole point of doing this is to figure that out. Next on the line, Suspiria. This is the 2018 remake. I'll be surprised if this one is on there and the original is not. A darkness swirls at the center of a world-renowned dance company, one that will engulf the artistic director, an ambitious young dancer, and a grieving psychotherapist. Some will succumb to the nightmares. Others will finally wake up. I haven't seen the remake. It stars Chloe Grace Moretz, Tilda Swinton, so some big names there.
Oh, yeah.
But I have not seen the remake. I did see the original, and I will highly recommend the original. And again, if it's not on here too, I will be a little bit surprised. Number 11 on the list, Midsummer from 2019. A couple travels to Northern Europe to visit a rural hometown's fabled Swedish Midsummer Festival. What begins as an idyllic retreat quickly devolves into an increasingly violent and bizarre competition at the hands of a pagan cult. Now, I have seen this one. My son recommended it to me. We called my buddy Brad Clark and said, hey, Brad, you want to go to the movies with us? He said, sure. Halfway through this movie, Brad turned to me and said out loud, what the hell are we watching? Because this movie is freaking weird and, yes, terrifying, creepy. Highly recommended, though. Great movie. And Florence Pugh is one of her early roles. She's terrific in it as well. So check out Midsummer. And like they mentioned, the thing that makes this movie interesting is what part of the day do most scary movies take place, John?
Night,
of course.
Yeah.
Midsummer's all broad daylight all the way through. And still just as scary.
There's an English, a UK TV series that I've really gotten into on Amazon Prime. It's called Midsummer Murders.
Is it spelled the same way?
Midsummer is. Oh, no, actually, no, I don't think it is.
I didn't think so either.
But it's
and obviously a different thing. Good. So you watch that on Amazon?
Yes.
Number 10 on the list. We're at our top 10 scariest movies of all time. Friday the 13th, Part 2. 5 years after the events of the first film, a summer camp to the infamous Camp Crystal Lake is preparing to open, but the legend of Jason is weighing heavy on the proceedings. They say it's the best in the series. They say that Amy Steele gives a great performance as the heroine, and you've got Betsy Palmer returning, of course, as Jason's mother. I don't know. I mean, it's been so long since I've seen that movie. I don't know how scary it really is. Do you have any memory of that whatsoever?
No. Matter of fact, honestly,
it's 30 years old now. Good Lord.
The only thing I remember about any of the Friday the 13th movies, besides of Freddy, was that one scene that has Johnny Depp in it, and he's not in it very long, where he gets sucked into the bed. It's the only thing I remember about that series.
That's because you have a man crush on Johnny Depp.
Well, do you blame me?
My man crush is Jason Statham. So.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Number 9 on the list is a newer movie. No, it's not. It's actually not that new. I apologize. I was thinking of this sequel. Evil Dead. Not the original Evil Dead, the Evil Dead from 2013. 5 friends head to a remote cabin where the discovery of a book of the dead leads them to unwittingly summon up demons living in the nearby woods. Yes, it is a remake of the original Evil Dead. There's lots of gore in it, and it is pretty scary, just like the original was. And this is another example of, if this is in the list and the original is not, I think that's a mistake.
But didn't we also on one of the previous shows,
the goriest movies of all time?
Yeah, this particular one was on it.
And it even says here, and John will like this in particular, this remake finds many ways to bow to the original, aside the obligatory visual quotes. The use of practical effects, notably in an era of CGI-filled movies, is extremely refreshing. The gore feels painful, makes you cringe, churned my stomach. It successfully palliates, I'm going to have to look that word up later, a somewhat shallow characterization that makes it difficult to root for the characters. Okay, but yeah, Evil Dead, the remake was fine. It's not as good as the original, but not many are. Number 8 on the list is Sleep Tight. You wake day after day to the comfort and security of your home, but how safe is it really? Well, I don't know. Why you asked me that question? Is it because is there roaches? I don't know. The person who wrote this list said, I don't think I've ever hated a character more than I hate the concierge. And considering this is a horror movie, that's a good thing. I didn't find it to be over the top in any way. The film was extremely tense, not typical horror, but definitely unsettling. Good acting and a unique storyline. So that's Sleep Tight from 2011. By the way, some of these, many of these in this list so far are probably foreign language films. So that might be an issue for some of you. I know some people don't like subtitles, but I highly recommend, if you're watching a movie that's got a foreign language and it's got a dubbed version or a subtitled version, do the subtitled version. You want to hear the original actors acting. You know what I like about that? I'll watch a foreign language movie and I watch them all with subtitles because I want to hear the original actor's performance, right? Mm-hmm. After the movie's over, I would swear I heard them talking in English. It just kind of merges for me. It's an interesting thing.
For me, I'm not a big fan of subtitles, but 2 movies that I quite enjoyed.
Das Boot.
Actually, I never saw the original.
I didn't either. I can't believe it. People give me crap about that all the time.
But one was
Apocalypse. No, actually, English language film.
Three movies. 2 of them were Mel Gibson movies.
Apocalyptica.
And that was the second one. But the first one was Passion of the Christ. And then the other one, I believe, was with Jet Li. And I believe it was called Hero.
Oh, yeah. That's a good movie.
And I got so wrapped up in, I could still read what they were saying and still follow what was going on. Normally, when it comes to trying to read the dialogue and all that, I would always get lost. And just like, I'm reading it and then, okay, where's the scene?
Yeah, that is one setback for subtitles. It does distract you from what's on the screen, but not much. I mean, if you get, eventually you get into a rhythm and it's okay. And where I live, we have that road in front of our house. We have the subtitles on constantly because even TV shows that we watch, we have to have the subtitles to hear the dialogue. Number 7 on our list is Get Out. That was also on our list of best Halloween movies, I believe. A young African-American visits his white girlfriend's parents for the weekend, where his simmering uneasiness about their reception of him eventually reaches a boiling point. It is a scary movie, and it's not a scary movie because of jump scenes and that kind of jump cuts and those kind of things. It's because it's got a eerie, mysterious buildup. That's why they use the word simmering, because the movie kind of goes along at a low level, but there's something in the background that's bugging you. And when you finally find out what it is, it's truly horrifying. So yeah, Get Out, it deserves to be in this list. It is one of the greatest horror movies ever made, I would say. If you're talking top 10, I can see that being in the top 10 horror movies. It's that good. And it cost $5 million to make and grossed $176 million. So it was a hit.
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching indeed. Number 6 on the list is High Tension. Another foreign language film, it looks like. Best friends Marie and Alexia decide to spend a quiet weekend at Alexia's parents' secluded farmhouse. But on the night of their arrival, the girls' idyllic getaway turns into an endless night of horror. It's appropriately gruesome and shocking and does not take the wisecracking action movie-based horror movie approach that so many recent horror films have taken. So there's another one to check out. See, this is what's nice. You get to find these movies that we haven't seen and check them out. I can tell you that we're coming to the top 5, and I'm going to have issues with all 5 only because I can tell there's movies they've left out that deserve to be on this list.
Now, there's been 2, possibly 3, maybe even a 4th one, I'm not sure, that the 2 characters who are being terrorized are female.
Yeah, that's typical for a horror movie, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. I'm very curious about High Tension. That one looks like an interesting picture. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Foreign films can be even more frightening because they have different cultural and content thoughts than other countries do. So it makes it foreign to you and odd to you. And that can make it scarier.
Okay. Now, with what you just said, going back to Killers of the Flower Moon, how well do you think that movie will play in Europe? Considering,
I believe it's one of those movies that'll play well anywhere. I mean, it is a period piece for starters. Keep that in mind. So everybody knows it takes place in the past, and the story is universal. You know why? Because unfortunately, greed is universal.
That's true. That's true.
So I think it'll do well. And maybe it won't even be released overseas. No, it has been already. It's already been released overseas. So, all right, moving on. Number 5, The Babadook. A single mother and her child fall into a deep well of paranoia when an eerie children's book titled Mr. Babadook manifests in their home. Have you seen this?
No.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's not as good as everybody tends to lead you to believe, but it is pretty good. The writer of this list says The Babadook is dark, eerie, creepy, and scariest of all, metaphorically psychological. That's true. It's the looming threat of insanity that drives the movie. The movie is extremely well made and is extremely twisted.
And that one actress, Essie Davis, I know her from some other things, and if it's the person I'm thinking of, she's quite talented.
It is not the person from Beverly Hillbillies.
No.
That is Essie Davis.
Oh, no, it's not the person
She's an Australian actress and singer.
Oh, yeah. Now I'm right. Miss Fisher's Murder Mystery. Oh, yeah. That was a TV series, Australian TV series. Now I know that name. She was quite talented.
There. See, there's a picture from the Babadook.
Oh, yeah.
That the audience can't see, so I should put it away. Okay. Continuing on, number 4 on our list, of course. And anybody who denies this hasn't seen it. Number 4 is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And that is a very scary movie. It is disturbing. It is twisted. It is violent. You notice I'm leaving out the words bloody and gory? Because people will tell you that movie, that was so bloody and gory, I could hardly stand it. There's so little gore in that movie. It's all just terror. And the scene that stuck in my head forever, and this isn't a spoiler alert because this movie's 59 years old. Good Lord. No, not 59, 49, right? Yeah, 49. When he hangs that girl on the meat hook. Man, that's a scary movie, folks. Tobe Hooper directed it. Easily one of the, now this guy says this horrific film is very gory. I don't think it is. I think, that's what sticks in your head, but especially by today's standards, I don't think it's that gory. Yeah, there's a guy with a chainsaw, but, and the best thing about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre by far is that it led to Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, which was one of my favorite movies of all time. To this day, my brother and I are still quoting the movie. One year for Christmas, I got him a license plate for his motorcycle that says, "Lick my plate." That's a line from the movie that you can't forget. And Dennis Hopper versus the Chainsaw Family. I mean, do you need anything else? He goes down to the chainsaw people killed his sister, I believe. So he's going to put a stop to him. So he's hunting them down. He's like I don't know if he's a sheriff or something, but he's got the cowboy hat and everything. And he goes down to the hardware store once he figures out where they are and buys himself a pair of chainsaws. And he wears them on his hips like guns. I mean, come on, it just didn't get better. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, if you're looking for something scary, one of the scariest movies ever made for sure. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, also scary, but also absolutely hysterical.
Do you think that's where they got the idea for Axe and his chainsaw?
I'm sure.
Texas
Horror movies and chainsaws go hand in hand forever, but I think the Texas Chainsaw movie was the first one. Yeah, no question. Yeah, it's just good stuff. The chainsaw works well. And don't forget, unlike Leatherface, who had to pick up his chainsaw and start it, Ash is attached to his fist.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah. Number 3 in the list of scariest horror movies of all time is The Witch from 2015. A family in 1630s New England is torn apart by the forces of witchcraft, black magic, and possession. This movie combines classic horror and Okay, I'm going to read this as it says. This movie combines classic horror and generally scary arithmetic to create a new and great film. Okay, I find math scary.
Yeah.
But I've never thought about it as being part of a horror movie.
I wonder if that was they just put the wrong word in there.
I'm very intrigued by this movie, though. I'll tell you that. Anya Taylor-Joy is in it for starters, and she is terrific. Can't wait for her Furiosa movie. Can't wait for that. They showed some images from Furiosa. That's the new Mad Max movie, Sans Mad Max.
Oh,
that guy. I'm telling you that filmmaker's incredible. So The Witch, I'm going to look that one up. That sounds pretty interesting. It says it's currently available on Cinemax and Prime Video.
I wonder if they melt her with water.
Wouldn't it be great if that's how it ended? She's torturing this whole family and the guy spills his ice on her and she's like, oh, melting. Number 2, scariest movie of all time, Hereditary. Hereditary is a new horror landmark that puts a unique face on things that go bump in the night. A grieving family is haunted by tragic and disturbing occurrences. Toni Collette is aces in this movie. She is brilliant. And yeah, the movie's scary as hell. My son made me sit up with him and watch Hereditary one night. And I was watching and going, I don't want to watch this movie anymore. Then part of the reason is Toni Collette is such a fine actor that you can't take your eyes off her. She's just terrific. So Gabriel Byrne is in that as well. It is a very scary movie, Hereditary from 2018. So if you haven't seen that one, check it out. It says it's available on Max and Prime Video channels. Well, I think they're pushing Prime Video. It's available on Max, period. So check that out. All right. Number 1 scariest movie of all time. Johnny, thoughts?
Well, I would have said
this guy's obviously going with more modern horror films. That's okay.
So, with the exceptions of Psycho.
Chainsaw.
And
Psycho
Texas
and
Chainsaw. Yeah. But God, that's tough for me to say because the majority of these I've never heard of. So for me to say scary, I don't want to say any of the aliens because there is some scariness in that. There's horror in it, but this is strictly scary.
Alien is more of a jump cut scare. That chest burster scene is the same could be said of Misery.
Talk about jump.
Yeah, the same could be said of Misery with the hobbling scene. Everybody talks about
God,
that.
Yeah,
those are scary, but they're not necessarily scary through and through.
I would have said Jaws. And that was the one I was going to say. And then you.
Well, it's the same thing. We're talking about jump cuts, and that's one of the greatest jump cuts ever. So, all right, let's find out.
That's hard for me to say.
I can't think of.
I've already know one that I would add to this list.
Which would that be?
It was a Willem Dafoe movie.
You don't know the title, do you?
Yes, I do. I'm looking right at it. Because I don't speak French, so I'm going to try. Circuit de Fric, The Vampire's Assistant.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really good movie.
That's not the one where he was Dracula when they're making the movie, was it?
Yes.
Oh, are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't think that was the title. But yeah, it's Willem Dafoe. It should be pretty good. The two that I mentioned earlier, I would have put on this list somewhere. Now, again, we only did the top 16. So, and this guy's leaning towards more modern movies for most cases. But let's see what he thinks the number 1 scariest movie of all time is. It is, and this was basically at the top of every list I pulled up today. The number 1 scariest movie of all time is The Exorcist. We talked about The Exorcist, previous best Halloween movies, best horror movies, all this stuff. It is a genuinely terrifying movie. And what shocks me about The Exorcist is it was a novel first, then it became a movie. And then it spawned countless spin-offs, sequels, everything. And yet the movies are all basically the same.
Yeah.
Just with more modern special effects and what story. You know, it's always ends with the priest vanquishing the demon and you know, they have the Catholicism interaction with it. But this movie is 50 years old this year. 50 years old. So for 50 years, The Exorcist has stuck in our psyche. I remember, and when I was in school, I was too young to see this movie. I was reading the book, which is interesting, but I was too young to see the movie, apparently. But one of our teachers was a filmmaker, and he was so mad that The Exorcist was this big monster hit because he wanted to make movies that people wouldn't go see. And he thought that that stupid movie about a girl puking pea soup was making all this money, and his movies couldn't get made. It's like, yeah, well, you know, Johnny, what is the reason to make a movie?
Put butts in the seats.
Put butts in the seats. That's what it's all about. You got people to watch it. You make a movie for as many people to watch it. Yes, it's a communication, etc. But if you make a movie that nobody watches, what good is it?
First time I saw that movie was at a drive-in. And
don't tell the story again,
no,
for the love of God.
No, I saw that it was at the drive-in at a drive-in in Dallas. It was the first time I saw that movie.
Oh, I first saw it on HBO. I never saw it in theaters. And I think the only reason I eventually watched it on HBO is because my buddy John Larson said it was one of two perfect movies of all time. He thought The Exorcist and Peter Jackson's King Kong were the two perfect movies ever made. I would disagree with him on both cases, but that's why I watched it. Are they great movies? They are. They are great movies. And The Exorcist, as I said, was on everybody's list, at the top of the list for scariest movies of all time. Night of the Living Dead should be on this list. There's no question that was a scary movie.
Wasn't that on one of the other lists that we did?
Well, it might have been. That doesn't mean it can't be on this list. It was on greatest horror movies. If I spell it. Okay, let's see. Let's see if it's on the list. We also had okay. Oh, it's not on the list. Oh, maybe it is. Hold on, I'm not done yet. Sorry, folks. VHS, It Follows. It Follows is a very scary movie. Serpent and the Rainbow, also a very scary movie. The original Nightmare on Elm Street, scary movie. Amityville Horror.
Oh, wait a minute. I stand corrected.
Paranormal Activity, also scary. Night of the Living Dead, not on the list.
Well, which is the one that had Freddy?
The new one that we're talking about?
No, the Freddy with the fingers.
I don't. Freddy Krueger?
Yeah, Freddy Krueger.
Nightmare Before.
Was that Nightmare on Elm Street, or was that Friday the 13th?
That's Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, okay. Because when we were talking about Friday the 13th, for some reason I was thinking that was.
Oh no, Johnny Depp's in the Nightmare on Elm Street. You're right.
Right. So I stand corrected on that.
That was the original one from 1984. It was number 61 on this guy's list. He did put a lot of stuff in this.
Robert Englund.
Here's the problem with this.
Great.
He was. Huh?
He became a director.
Oh, okay.
Robert Englund.
I was going to say he didn't direct that.
No, it was Wes Craven.
Yeah.
Wes Craven.
But I lost my sense of I thought. Never mind. Doesn't matter. Anyway, scary movies. Halloween is here, so go watch some scary movies. My intention is to watch Chainsaw Massacre 2 on Halloween night. Just because I've been wanting to see it again for a long time. I just love that movie. It just makes me laugh so hard, and it's so over the top in most places. And a lot of people don't like it because of its comedic take, but I think it's brilliant.
Do you remember? I think this is the correct title: Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah, with Keanu Reeves.
Yes, and I quite enjoyed that movie. Is that on that list?
It is not. A lot of people don't like that movie, and they don't like it because of Keanu Reeves' performance.
I didn't like his so-called English accent.
And I have to tell you that when I saw it, and I saw it originally in the theaters at a screening, as a matter of fact, I didn't like it either. I'd like to see it again.
I thought Gary Oldman was fantastic.
It's Gary Oldman, of course he is. Yeah, it got 78% on the Rotten Tomatoes, and the critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes is overblown in the best sense of the word. Francis Ford Coppola's vision of Bram Stoker's Dracula rescues the character from decades of campy interpretations and features some terrific performances to boot. I will watch that again because I've got a new respect for Francis Ford Coppola since I've seen that, and also for Keanu. So I will watch that again, and especially, and 78% on Tomatoes is a pretty good rating. So it's worth seeing again. All right, Johnny, got anything else? We're out of
yes,
scary movie territory,
because this is the 28th of October. If you order it today off of Amazon.com, you can get a copy of Neath, which is a very scary book by R. Scott Bolton. Also available on Amazon.com, and with Amazon Prime, you get free delivery. You can get R. Scott Bolton's latest, which is Death in the Mogul, and also my favorite, Dead Dick, which has demons in it, and a cherub, and a dead detective.
A cherub named Buster. Don't see many of those around.
Well, you don't. But check out R. Scott Bolton books. There's 7, 8 of them available right now on Amazon.com.
8 available and 13 written. So there's 5 more coming soon. And I'm starting my new one November 1st, which is Wednesday. Miser Hills. Here's the cover right here. Starting Miser Hills on a Wednesday for National Novel Writing Month. And let me give them a quick little pitch again. If you want to write something and you've never found the time to do it, make the time in November. You start November 1st, you stop writing November 30th. The goal is to write 50,000 words. And folks, let me tell you this. I've written a book every year with them for 11 years now. And every year I end up with a finished book. It's not ready for anybody to read, but it's complete. And I can go back and fix it from that point. So that's what I do. I write the entire book as fast as I can through November. And then I go back and I put it together. And Johnny seems to think that they turn out okay. And I've got many readers who've written me and very happy with my books. Some of them have done stupid things, though. My favorite writers are now Lee Child and R. Scott Bolton. Don't put me in Lee Child's. There's no way I'm as good as Lee Child. I just want you to know that. But I think they're entertaining little books. They're good beach reads. So check them out. Please buy them. I'm retiring from my day job soon, and I need all of you to buy my books as often as you possibly can. Thanks. All right, folks. We'll see you next week. As always, this show is brought to you by The Grape. That is a jazz club here in Ventura. It's one of my favorite places to go. In fact, when I do retire, I have a seat picked out where I can go down there on some nights when they're not too busy, sit there, have some whiskey, and do some writing. Looking forward to that. They have the longest bar in Ventura, and I love that bar. I love the people there. High quality cocktails, high quality entertainment. It's just a good place to be. So check out The Grape if you're in Ventura. You will be glad you did. Johnny, got anything else?
Yeah, I like you said, I'm surprised that there are some movies that were not on any of these lists that we've done over the last couple of weeks.
But there's so many movies nowadays.
Right.
So that's okay. All right, folks, we'll see you next week.
Hey. Happy Halloween.
That's scarier for reasons than anybody else knows. Brought to you by The Grape, Ventura County's premier jazz venue and cocktail lounge, located at 2733 East Main Street in Ventura. For menu and music schedule, visit them online at thegrape.club. This has been a Rough Edge Studios production.